Sweet.
Sweet. Shaleem.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to me. I'm the center. Wait, I'm slightly off center.
On the side.
I'm on the side
of good
and evil. Good and evil.
All right. So, you guys want to kick off with the AI question?
Yeah, Brody.
If you want to, yeah.
Brody.
Right. So, how can we keep up with AI?
Yeah, do you mean AI now or like
eventually?
Future AI?
Definitely like future. That's something we were just talking about earlier, actually.
Well, I think if we're at the point of being able to put into a robot some type of self-consciousness, I think we'll be able to alter our own in the future. So somehow I think we'll have to be able to genetically modify ourselves to keep up with it.
Or become cyborgs. Put a little quantum computer in our brains.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've heard. Sounds interesting. Like we might have to end up doing that. I'm not sure if we'd be able to biologically change it and get to the same point of AI. Like I don't think that sounds possible, but
we can still improve on it though.
I think
and maybe that it, like in relation to also improving it, we can make it more receptive to, computer chips and whatnot.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think we would really be able to. You know what I mean? Because like we were talking about out there, one of the things that I saw Sam Harris bring up in like his TED Talk about AI was, if we put consciousness in a computer, we could not even consciousness, just like, artificial intelligence, because those are kind of different. But, even if it was consciousness and it was like a person in there, we remove emotional biases and everything, we could, in theory, run it at, magnitudes of speeds faster than normally. Like you could artificially have a group of the 10 smartest people in the world in a room trying to figure things out that don't need like breaks or to sleep or, they don't have emotional bias, they don't have like anything like that. And they're just thinking and working towards a solution 24 hours a day,
Full on utilitarianism.
Yeah, but at the same time, like that 24 hours a day could be 10,000 hours in a day if we have the...
In relation to like human labor.
Well, in just relation to like human, like real-time thinking.
I know.
If you have that many minds doing it at a time.
Well, no, not even that. You could have 10, but you could just run the program at 10,000% speed.
Yeah.
True. I mean? So...
I think it's funny that like they can... Quantum computing is actually slower than regular computing.
For now.
But what it does, it has four...
On-off switches.
Yeah, 4 at once instead of 1.
Yeah.
So...
Instead of 2.
Yeah, it's 4, but they're slower, but they're doing more operations at one time. So technically it's faster.
Another possibility, if we can ever actually fully map out like the human brain, like actual consciousness, we can probably like upload ourselves to like one of those clouds. That way,
maybe
computers can also go there, and like it's just like a whole, basically enclave orgy of metallic and organic consciousness.
Here's this question: Would you upload yourself to something like that?
No,
I don't think I would.
Because then it would just beat me, and I'd be pointless.
I think if on my deathbed, just to see what the hell would happen.
Well, you die, so you wouldn't see what... Oh, I mean, like...
No, like, I come close to death, but then it's just like...
It's like leaving your legacy in this world.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Would that still be you? I mean, not in some, like, weird mystical
Well, that's
sense,
what I'm saying. You'd be leaving your legacy. Like,
so
if you die...
It's like a carbon copy of your consciousness in...
Yeah, it's not... Well, okay, it's... I guess you could argue that it is you. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like, if
that's
I'll be able to...
Physically, it's not you. But that's like, that's like the teleportation thing.
Yeah, from Star Trek.
Yeah. It's like if it breaks down your body and just rebuilds it somewhere else and kills the original copy, is it still you? It acts completely the same way that you would.
Yeah.
As if you just experienced that. But, the particles that were you are now gone. So
yeah. Completely
so
different atoms. That just
pretty much you just transferred to it.
I'd say if you're arguing that it's not you, you're just kind of playing semantics. Because I don't think anyone's going to argue with you that it's the same atoms.
Well, yeah, I wasn't arguing that. I was just saying,
yeah,
is it like you just, like, as you die, your consciousness is transferred, or like it just copies it and then you die?
What
like
your
consciousness
so when you say
dies
transfer, do you mean it deletes the old copy immediately? Because you can't move your consciousness. That's impossible.
Well, this is all like theoretical. So I mean, like, if you could, is it transferring your consciousness to a computer, or is it like copying what you have in your brain already into something else, and then it continues to move on?
Basically, do you die in the process, or are you still alive and there's technically two of you in terms of consciousness?
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking if you're doing.
No. I'm just saying, like, I'm not like not
so
not like in the question form, but like just like, are you still alive? Like physically, like, do you have to die in that process, or like if you are?
Well, I was thinking like you said you're on your deathbed,
right?
So like as you're dying, your consciousness is transferred. And then
oh, okay.
I'm like, is it copying it, or are you like losing it as you die? That makes sense.
Well, like in this scenario, I just mean like, you know, for
think of it as like taking out your brain and just putting it into a different body.
Oh, okay.
Into a different body, because before we were talking about just uploading it to like a cloud or something. Are you saying like extending?
I'm not like talking legitimately taking your brain out, but like keeping like your entire whatever you
and
are,
putting it in another
putting in something
body.
Else. Yeah, more or less. Is that what you're doing?
Well, okay, and like I think all we're saying is that it's just like, you can think of it as like a flash drive, you know, like we're plugged into a computer and a copy is made. Just like on a computer, if you try to cut and paste something, it's the same thing as copying it, just deleting the original one.
Okay, would I know that I died? Like, would I go through that experience and then...
Oh, would you go through the experience? Probably not.
And then, like, okay, so it's basically like taking you just before you die.
It doesn't even need to be just before you... It could be at any point that you're alive.
Like, at that, like, say...
In that scenario.
Yeah, say, like, you're about to die, but you still want to, like, quote-unquote
yeah, you could probably, like, do that.
Okay.
And then, like, something would...
Upload to, like, some robot mind that could hold it or something.
Maybe. I think, like, because at that point, if you did want to bring it back and say, like, it's not, like, you know.
What?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
What?
The comments.
No, but, yeah, because, like, physically, you're leaving behind, like, your greatest achievement, you know, your mind, the accumulation of your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So... I can't think of a better way to leave something behind, but if like you follow those implications, like you're not transferring like from a flash drive to a flash drive. Mm-hmm. You know, you're completely changing like platforms basically. Mm-hmm. And I would be worried about what you lose in that transition. You know, I would be worried that like the me is theoretically me as far as we can tell, but like maybe in the next 20 years they realize like, yeah, so the sympathy something, or like somehow, some way, like the mind is now affected by that process. Yeah. If we can avoid that entirely, and it is just a complete recreation of the mind within a computer, and we can guarantee that, then I would probably consider doing it. Mm-hmm. But
I think to also keep up, we'd have to be able to make our minds live eternally like an AI would be able to. I mean, practically. Infinitely, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like in a computer, right?
But yeah. In some way, like if we were able to become immortal as just.
But then at that point, we're AI. We're AI, but we were born in a human body, but we're still AI.
Right. Cause
I'm just saying, like, because they can continue on past the years that a human body has. So we just have to have some way to transcend that and continue on, because they can just keep going and going and going. We have a certain amount of time. So. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Oh, there's a shit ton. It really depends on like the environment at that time, like what exactly is being done with this information and like all that shit. Because if it just goes to some company's server, which is probably pretty likely, you know, you stand the chance of like, you know, your shit could get fucked with. Mm-hmm. Like someone could delete you on accident. You know what I mean?
There's life.
Like, think about that.
Just to like show that the company is safe. Like
one power outage,
guy robot,
and you could lose generations of people. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, if you duplicate it and move it to different areas, you made two different people, sort of. You know what I mean? Like the fact that there's two instances of you isn't anything to scoff at, is what I'm saying. I believe at that point,
Yeah.
And like, would you have to authorize it?
Like,
Duplicating it?
like the person,
Yeah.
like the person themselves, would they have to authorize?
Yeah, how would that
their
work? Would you have to, when you're a physical human being, would you have to authorize the ability to duplicate it before? Or would you be able to,
Do it after.
should you be
when
allowed
it's
to,
duplicated.
yeah, should you be allowed to, do you have rights when you're because now we're getting to the rights of artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Which
If
before, my opinion was like against, like, you know, like it's just a computer process. Like if it's screaming at you, you can just turn the computer off. But
right.
I don't know,
Well, I think that's
I
when
don't
you
know.
get to
I've thought about it.
what do you consider a life?
not enough. Exactly. You know, that's kind of one of the things it breaks down to. I don't have an opinion anymore, but that's what I used to think.
That is just
I
a
used to
computer process.
think like, yeah, you know, like it's just a computer process. Like
Mhm.
it's not biological, and therefore, you know, it doesn't have like inherent rights.
Right.
But I totally see the argument that they're making. I did before, but now I think I see it from a different perspective.
Mhm.
Just want to say to the future robot overlords, I think you're all pretty nice, pretty good.
Hey, think about this real quick. Fuck me. What if
You thinking about that now?
What if us in AI form watch this later on when we're in a computer?
And they're like, God, this guy's so
And
I
we're
see
like,
you.
This guy's so
Dude,
young and stupid.
That's fucking crazy.
You guys ever hear?
They're like, that's me from 5,000 years ago. Fucking asshole. It's gonna be posted to virtual Reddit. This guy's talking to himself from 5,000 years in the past.
mental fornication, dude.
God,
you
I
guys
used to
ever
look so hot. Now I'm just a
hear-
little.
I don't know if
piece of
you
information.
might have met it just because like you looked it up, but maybe Connor's don't like Rocco's Basilisk or something like that.
Sounds
I've
very
heard that,
familiar.
It's like it might, like, if I describe it, it might come to mind, but basically it's like in the future, like let's say it's guaranteed that there is going to be like this AI that they just like controls the world or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you don't do anything to further along its goals or like to its creation, it'll like create your consciousness and then torture you for eternity as punishment.
Yeah, maybe. That's the other thing too. Like that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like we don't know what's happening with our minds once we upload it. You know what I mean? We could be used as torture. You know. I
So
think
I fully
Black Mirror
support you,
touched on
Rocco.
that a little bit in
that
an
last
interesting
episode.
way. A couple of the episodes actually talked about like AI.
Which one?
Yeah, one of them
The
was
very last episode was-
the last
Of
one
what?
was like a Black Mirror.
Oh, okay.
The last episode was
Oh, season 3?
yeah, oh, no, just last episode of last season, season 4.
Oh, season 4. Okay, I
Yeah.
forgot.
Is
I
it
forgot.
4?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that has like the
Um,
Star Trek remake or whatever. Or like
yeah,
the
Yeah, that
early-
was the first episode.
Yeah.
But on the last episode, he, this guy, like, they kind of get into uploading consciousness into some sort of bear,
Mm.
and then it can just do like it can only do 2 actions, just like a happy or sad action, and then it turns into like this amusement attraction where it uploads this person's torment, like the last moments of their torment, and like you can keep it in a downing forever, and like they're technically you're downloading their consciousness into this little thing, and then you can eternally watch them like suffer.
You know what it reminded me of? There was like, and it's so weird because it was in Star Wars, which you would think is a little bit more campy and less dark, but like in that new movie, apparently they have servants, and they're usually human, and like basically their head is like cut in half, and like the top half, no, I think it's just flat, and like there's like a bit of machinery, and essentially
Damn.
they don't kill the consciousness of that one person. What they do is they just basically made them mentally, you know, it's obviously not the best word, but like they made them retarded, and then so they can just be like slaves for them.
So they have just enough to do
So-
what they say and nothing more,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically like a flesh robot. At
Yeah.
that point. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
like clones.
That sounds like a very cost-effective way to get a robot.
That's true. Just
Although,
get like,
like,
the machinery.
You'd have to think like fixing it would be more expensive. It's kind of like owning a Tesla.
Yeah,
Like, sure, you don't have to pay for gas, but if that thing breaks, like, you can't just take it to the mechanic. You'd have
yeah,
to go to
but
the
you know,
doctor.
at a certain point when there's a lot more.
Oh yeah, like health advances, stuff like that.
But yeah,
Is that
but
what
when
you're
there's more
For the
need
robot.
for a product, the price for it goes down because a lot more people want it. So.
saying? Yeah.
And there's a lot more need for it.
We've had Econ 101, Connor. It's okay. No, I'm kidding.
It's interesting.
You did take a few other econ classes, though, didn't you, as a major?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like marketing class and stuff. But that stuff's just
Watch out, communists.
It's funny. I tell that to people. I'm like, oh my god, really? And like, that's like the first thing you learn. It's like if there's a higher need for something, price for it goes down. But you want to find that perfect.
The market equilibrium or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me pose this question now. So, if your mind was in a computer, and let's say for the sake of the argument, it's perfectly intact.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically
Nothing
just like
changes
you thinking. Yeah, nothing changes it. And it'll advance like normally it would in the real world. What would you do? You know what I mean?
Like you're just in a brain, you can't, or like in a.
Yeah, you're just like in that computer right there. You're just simulated. But you can continue to think and all that stuff. But you can't experience the physical world in the same way. Maybe they'd make robots that would have a lot of like a shit ton of sensors, and it could be similar.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think would be interesting.
Like, am I forced into it, or do I
No.
automatically...
I'm just saying, let's say you chose to be...
Let's just say you are there.
Okay.
Let's say you chose to be uploaded.
Right.
Would you prefer to stay active, or would you want them to, like, freeze your consciousness state? Like, do you think you would go mad in the computer? Okay, so...
Assuming I consented to it and I wasn't forced to it, I think I would just want it to just be, like, active. Like, as if I'm still... Like, it can still change. I can still form new memories, and I can still change my mind. Just because I think... Obviously, I don't think you could go mad if you were in stasis, that mental stasis, because obviously you'll just revert back to your original form, or, like, it won't physically change. But I think that would just be torment. It'd be like just living the same day again and again. Even though you remember the other day, you aren't physically changing in any way. So
yeah, but like think about it this way: like if you are like that, like you're just in a computer.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, a lot of online games exist where you download the world around you. You don't render much of it at all on site on the computer.
Right.
So you could have your computer just running your consciousness, and you could basically be logged in to basically an MMO.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And you could technically control a character, and since it's not a person sitting in a monitor, it'd be your eyes in the monitor. They could probably just like, you could basically just be in a game
world that you created.
Are you like forever trapped in that world, or can you?
No,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, you're subject to glitches, is something I was going to get to. Like, if you're in that world and you fall through the map, think about how fucking terrifying that would be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or if you're in that world and you're getting fucking burned alive. And
yeah,
that
but
game
can you feel that though? Like,
if it's your brain, if it's a full reenactment of your brain,
mm-hmm.
they might be able to plug you into like neurons.
Yeah.
Something similar to
It'll
neurons
activate
that would fire the brain the same way. Because if we understand the brain at that point, I'm sure we could. I'm sure that eventually we might be able to simulate pain and feeling and touch and all
mm-hmm.
all
you
that.
just activate the right places in the brain,
mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
the right neurons.
It's kind of like the San Junipero episode of Black Mirror. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah,
I just saw the first season.
It was basically exactly what we're talking about. Like this old lady was uploaded into an AI like cloud thing, and she was just walking around a town called San Junipero, I believe. And it was just like there's a social life and everything.
It's basically for old people to relive their youth. But if you can choose to, if when you die, you can be uploaded into this thing and live there forever. Yeah. Like after you.
So there's some people there that choose to stay forever, but then some people in there also exist in the real world.
Mm.
So that's where it gets kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but
before you die, you're able to go into that for like 6 hours or something at a time. See if you like it, if that's something that you want to do. Mm-hmm. It's basically just like you're 21, you're just hooking up with everybody wherever you want.
Yeah.
I'm guessing since it's Black Mirror, once you choose to be on there forever, you can't...
Actually, no, that one had a happy ending.
Yeah, it wasn't really...
Oh, okay.
Like,
all right. Because, like, do they state, like, even if you do choose to stay in there after you die, can you still terminate yourself?
I would think you can. The main character had, like, an ethical argument with, whether or not she should, I think. They didn't go into a lot of detail about it.
Yeah,
she was very apprehensive, and she was saying, like, no, I'm just going to die on my own time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I think...
Because
if spoiler, I think she chose to stay, right? I don't remember.
It was focused on this one character that was, like, you're exploring this world with her, and then she finds this other woman that she falls in love with, and the other person's like, why should I continue on when my husband died and wasn't able to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then but the main character, like, this was the first person she'd ever been with outside of her husband.
All right.
So
No,
she was basically like a virgin again.
I was just wondering because like, it's that sort of, like that warning people say that, like, you know, if you want to live forever, obviously, in this case you do have at least other companions that are physically conscious, but obviously at some point you might actually just get tired of living.
Yeah,
But,
and you're saying like you don't want to be trapped in there forever.
Yeah.
You don't want to be.
I
Able
would
to end
like
it if
extra
possible.
years, especially if I die earlier.
And that's kind of why I posed the question. Like, in theory, you could just freeze your consciousness,
Right.
and you could say, "Hey, turn me back on in 20 years. I want to see what's different." And it would just happen for you. You know, it'd be like you died and you were instantly reborn, or like
That's
you went
true.
to sleep and you woke up.
Like
And it was 20 years in the future. Yeah.
I'm surprised. Like, I haven't heard anybody about waking up from that or anything. I don't know how long people, like, if you're able to decide for how long you're in cryo sleep or something.
Walt Disney.
I don't think that was like. I don't think that actually works.
Yeah, I think you still decompose.
Yeah, right now, like, you still die in cryostasis.
Because
it's a theory.
If you freeze entirely, you do die, because that's obviously not good for your body. I know that you can go to like a certain point of cold. I didn't.
Yeah, you're able to
cold
like
just doesn't
freeze
sound right,
for a
but,
certain amount of time, and then they can thaw you out, and you can still be alive.
Yeah.
But I think if you're able to freeze somebody to a certain point, a certain temperature, like, all of your process in your body stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
decompose.
includes the neurons in the brain. So
Yeah,
you're dead.
No, but I think you might damage though.
Yeah, it'll
Those
damage
neurons.
them. But
Well,
they
I
don't
think
decompose.
even if you thaw out, what is going to kick the neurons to start firing again? Like, what is going to restart your body?
Yeah, I think that might be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know how that happens, but
I don't know.
I mean, people have chose
Have
to
to wait until
go
Walt
into
Disney.
cryo sleep. At least I know that happened like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah,
they were doing
I heard about that as well. I question that. Like,
Yeah,
heavily.
I don't know if it works or if people have come out of that, what they've felt like or what they say.
As far as I
from
know, I don't
what
think anyone
yeah,
has.
no one's
Yeah.
come out of it so far.
I'm
At
sure
least
if
no one
somebody
wants to-
had, that would have been like a huge headline.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's tricky. I think it'd be interesting about this. Think about how scary that is. Like saying, "Hey, turn me back on in 10 years." What if the company running your thing doesn't exist in 10 years? You know what I mean? What if you get turned back on? You're like, "Hey, just so you know, we have a change in." So we sold the company, and now there's a new company running this.
They don't have the same policies.
Yeah,
and
and
keep you or
and they don't
anything.
have the same policies, and technically you're their intellectual property right now, and they're choosing to use you to
Run medical experiments.
think
or something
through,
like that.
yeah, some shit like that. We're gonna run you at 1,000,000 times speed for 6 months. So for you, that'll be 5,000 years. See you. You know what I mean?
That was, I think, just to bring it back to like a Black Mirror thing, like
Like that one guy
first
who's in that
season.
globe.
Well, what I was thinking was like that one season where like there was like this girl and like she just created like a duplicate of herself so she could like be the sort of maid of her house.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. I
yeah,
remember
Like she
that
was
one.
still alive,
That
but
was
she
fucked up.
was she
And
just
she
made
was
a
fucking
copy
free,
of herself.
and they were like, "Okay, I'm gonna put you on timeout for 6 months." And
Yeah.
yeah,
They
that
got crazy.
that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So that's what it reminded me
Yeah,
of.
and they
like,
couldn't
Yeah.
die there, so they put that one guy who's murdered, put him in there for like 1,000 years
Yeah,
or something.
the snow globe episode or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
White Christmas, right? That's what it's called.
Something like that.
But yeah, I don't know. I think choosing to get put on like sleep mode for 10 years would be scary, but I think that's one of the only things you could do. But I think that would take a lot of guts, you know? That would take a lot of guts, because just the fact that you exist, you know? Like, if that company gets hacked, they could copy you and fucking use you to run simulations.
Mhm.
Someone could just, like, download you somewhere else, some asshole, and run malicious simulations of you just
Andy.
burning alive for fun. Yeah. Andy would buy us off the company. Like, what if it's 20 years later, and you're like, "Hey, so this person we found out was, like, a serial rapist. If you want to download him and run him in your simulations, go for it." And now you have all these people who think they're doing justice by punishing some computer program, but really it's your consciousness. You know? That'd be fucking bonkers.
That's a crazy situation.
It is a crazy situation, because just because you signed some documents beforehand saying that, "Hey, don't use me for this, this, or this," doesn't mean that that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's just like how if you upload a picture to the internet, like, sometimes it's not always gone. Someone can copy it.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, like, even if you delete information online, it's still technically there. You can't get rid of it completely.
Yeah, sometimes. A lot of the times.
My nudes.
Yeah.
They're still there.
Still floating around somewhere.
I challenge you
Yeah.
to find it, dude.
I don't
Anyone
know.
watching.
I think that's definitely something to consider before jumping into it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
know.
the ending of that San Junipero episode is actually a bad ending. You know? She got succumbed to uploading. You know? She was peer pressured.
Yeah.
And now she might be tortured in 100 years or something if she doesn't self-terminate before then.
Yeah, because I mean, who's gonna know? Like, who's monitoring
Exactly.
that outside of that?
And then you get back to that Star Trek episode. You know, you could have someone maliciously copy you and take you home and do fucking fucked up shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Good talk.
I think that's a hard one for sure.
What you got there?
Okay, so are there unknowable truths? I mean, in relation to, you know, our world. Obviously, we don't know.
What do you consider truth? What's your definition of truth?
Something that is true inherently. I don't know. Like, it's not untrue. It's assuming that the world is real and we're not in a simulation. A truth is anything that is fucking true. I
A
don't
truth
know
that is
how else to-
anything that
Is it like
exists or is without our knowing of it. So, like, gravity happens before we even discovered it, you know?
Yeah, but like I'm saying, if you run out humanity for an infinite amount of time, are there things that we cannot know? Given all possible
Yeah,
situations.
no, I was just defining truth before we get into, like, what are there truths or untruths.
What definition did you use again?
I was saying that there are things that just are regardless of what we know or not. Like, gravity is an absolute throughout the universe.
Yeah, I'm saying from
whether we knew it or not. Like, before we even discovered it, it was there and it happened.
is there
Yeah.
something like that, but that we will never know?
Yeah.
Yeah, are there unknowable truths? Are there things that we could never know?
I don't know, because we are improving.
I think so. Because unless there's some, like, I would say the first thing that came to my mind was knowing if God was real or not. Or
got too
any
close to cozy.
higher power, you know. There's no way of going past the brink of death, or, you know, some people die and come back, which is like 30 seconds, but like I think it's like 7 minutes after you die, you're unable to come back to life, you're brain dead. That's it. And I think that's the point after which you'd have to be able to bring somebody completely back to life and say, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
Because what I was thinking is that maybe there could be stuff in other dimensions that we won't know, because obviously we're limited to our 3D, 4D space, whichever one.
Yeah, so if you...
Because, like, if you could take time into account, but, like, at the same time, what if, like, in the far future, you know, humans, or whatever, you know, species that develops from humanity, like, if they'll be able to develop something that goes beyond that, in which case, I don't know. That's obviously a big assumption as is.
Yeah.
But if we do accept that as a possibility, at least, then I guess maybe there isn't any unknown. It just, they're unknown to us because it just physically is. But for the whole span of humanity, no. You know? I don't know if that sufficiently answers, but...
Truths. I think there are some unknowable truths, like mathematically. I think they've come up with like 11 dimensions.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, theoretically. I think
like
that's
It's
about...
10
that's about,
physical and 1 spatial, or
Yeah.
10 spatial and 1 temporal.
And that's about like where they come in, 11 to 13. That's mostly what I've heard.
Yeah.
But we live in like a 4-dimensional world where it's like...
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like other dimensions are just like theoretical, and there's no way that we could like physically comprehend them without some other type of mechanical interference with that.
Yeah.
So
I guess there could be barriers that might stop us from reaching other dimensions, but until we get to that point, we won't know.
Yeah.
So I guess that it's kind of like a question where we kind of can't answer until we get there, and only then we aren't even sure then, because we could always find some way.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Well, just to let you guys know,
Is there
that the general consensus is that there are unknowable truths
Yeah, I'm sure there are, because
in the like epistemological world. It is generally considered that that's true.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain point at which humans can discover things, and there's just certain limits that we can't go to. Like, we can't go into a black hole and see what happens, you know, if you're able to somehow survive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so.
I just thought it was an
if you
interesting
accept
question.
that you'll never know everything, I think that statement is true. There are unknowable truths. There's no way for you to know absolutely everything
Yeah.
in the universe. And
I mean, I don't think it's going on like a person by person. I just mean like as a human species, given any possibility.
yeah, if you look at it just generally, if we're all looking at it like that, you know.
Yeah.
So
There are definitely, a lot of them.
yeah, absolutely.
So I want to tie that off real quick to what I was trying to explain to you earlier before we got interrupted by Steve.
Okay. Yeah, here you go.
What this was, I was talking to Aaron about this.
Earlier. We went somewhere.
So the general idea is, so if someone says to you, or like it's written or whatever, that you believe the statement to be false.
I believe the statement to be false.
Yeah. If you think it's true, you're wrong. If you think it's false, wait. I might not be wording it right. Yeah, if you think it's false, then you're also not
if somebody
right.
tells you a statement and you believe it to be...
No. I'm not saying like if I write on this paper, you believe this statement to be false. Not like changed to any real world thing, but just that statement, you can never be right about it. If I wrote Connor believes this statement to be false, like if you think it's true or false, you're wrong. But I, as an observer, once you pick one, I can see whether or not that is true or false. And I can be right. But you can never be right.
Because it's from the perspective of you.
Yeah.
And I can't...
Your perspective is like an expert on the situation. Like you're consistently wrong, is the idea. So, which is an interesting thing.
That's
like,
something that you wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's big. I mean,
I
I'll have to
kinda
send you
understand
that article later, but it's a little long, but I think you'd like it a lot.
I think I kind of get it.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. There was another one too where like it's not illogical to believe like two things that directly contradict each other either. You know, like for example, like students was the example used in the article. When you take a test, if you go over it 100 times, you're going to think every question is right. When you go through it, like question 1, you read it, okay, that's right. You're going to do the same for all of them. But afterwards, you're still going to think that one of them was wrong. So at the same time, you both think that you got one wrong and none wrong. That's what I said.
Nothing, and just
one
hints
wrong
of thought.
and no wrong.
Yeah. You don't think any of them are wrong when you look at them individually.
Right.
But afterwards,
Oh, you still think that
you
there
still
might be
believe
one.
that, yeah, you still
You just
believe
don't know.
that one is wrong.
Okay.
At least one is wrong, usually.
Okay,
You might
then-
think that you got a perfect score as well, but it's not uncommon to finish a test after going over it a couple times, thinking every answer is right, and
But
walking
you're
out and
still
being
"Oh, I
like,
just
one
got
of those
something
might be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Well, I think that's the...
doubt, not necessarily certainty, because
Well,
like,
no,
I think that's like
it's
an
not- but
optimistic
you
or
believe it.
pessimistic.
oh, okay.
But you,
approach
like,
to it.
it's about belief. Like, you
Right.
believe these two dissenting ideas. Like, you both believe that every question that you answered was correct,
Right.
but you also believe that one of them is wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
And using one is kind of like bad because it could be any number. It could even be 0, but it's, you could have that like kind of feeling during it where like you answer one where you're not exactly sure, but after a while going back over it, you think, okay, it can only be that.
Right.
But
Okay.
still at the end, you may think that one of any of your answers is wrong. Like it's a very common thing to think after a test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then in that moment, you are contradicting your own beliefs, but that's not a bad thing in this situation.
Right.
I think, I just think it's hoping for the best, planning for the worst, Like, oh, I'm hoping or believing that I got everything wrong, or everything right, but I believe that I should have gotten at least one or a few wrong.
Yeah.
So I should plan for that instead.
Well, it's statistically consistent though.
Yeah.
Because you rarely ever get 100% on a test. I think it's more about being optimistic and pessimistic because you can go off stats. You know what I mean? You can say statistically I got one wrong, but I believe I got all of them right. Which sounds a little less absurd, but it's kind of the same idea. But at the end of the day, they're both beliefs. And they're dissenting beliefs, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But
I feel it, yeah.
I thought that was interesting from that whole thing. I still have like the main article to read of that.
Yeah.
But that one is long.
I'm sure that's a vast majority of people. A lot of people will just believe, oh, I got everything right. Walk out of there and just...
I don't think...
I guess barring...
Most people would say that, yeah, I think I
got
a B or a C.
Yeah. I guess barring a time limit, it's just whether or not you either have the hope or have the, I guess, the ego to actually go with it, to turn in the test. You know, if you... Because obviously, like, individually, yes, they're all right, but collectively, it's, okay, not perfect.
Yeah.
So you gotta at least convince yourself enough, or just, you know, just do it, to just turn it in.
Yeah,
this is
but
an
like,
afterthought.
I think if you tackle any one question, given an infinite time limit, you can come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because at some point you'll get down to two answers, and one of them you'll put at a higher than 50%
Multiple
probability.
choice, I'm assuming?
Yeah, let's say 4-question multiple choice.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of questions, like trick questions like that, in tests that are multiple choice. It's like, oh yeah, most of them will be like, you know, you can definitively say that these are this, that, but sometimes people will get like two different answers at something, but you feel almost absolutely certain that it's one answer or the other. But then at the end, you're like, oh, well, I could have gotten that one wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I'm saying like with an intellectually perfect test, still, like those still happen. When I thought about it more, I thought it was more like kind of statistics. Like, okay, I have a 75% chance that one's right, so I believe that one to be right. You know what I mean? Like as much as one can. And I think that's kind of the key point. And you kind of go through that with all of them, and it's just varying degrees of percentages over 50. But then at the end, when you compound them all, it's not going to be 100. So from there, you lie somewhere in there. And if it was like, you know, 70% chance, then, you know, if you truly did the math and you did the math correctly and you ran the simulation a million times, the average would be, you know, 70%. But I think is interesting topic.
That's me.
That's all.
That's standardized testing. It's
Oh, man,
A through E multiple choice. C on everything.
Am I supposed to tackle this question from a free will perspective or determinism?
E isn't on the test, but it's on the Scantron. E.
You know what pisses me off?
It's a trick question.
So, like, in my economics class, we had a test question that said, like, so the market for cookies, supply decreases. What happens? And it said, like, demand increases, demand decreases, and then quantity produced increases, or something like that. And it's like, why are you bringing a real life thing into this? Why couldn't you just say like a theoretical one? Because now I'm like, if the supply of cookies went down, maybe more people would want it, but maybe you would have the opposite effect. Who the fuck knows?
What would you put it for that answer? Because I feel like it would still be the same amount of people, unless they were like advertising more and it reached out to more people.
Well, like, think about it this way though. If suddenly there's only 10 cookies being produced in the world every day, people are going to come to an acceptance of that fact, and then, you know, there's going to be less demand for cookies because they're going to know, like, hey, I can't get cookies, so I'm going to get candy bars instead, and then the demand for candy bars is going to go up.
But it'll be rarer, isn't it? Going to be more? Isn't the demand going to be more? Especially for like, cookies, because
if you think about it, but just you saying especially cookies is what makes this question so shitty. Yeah. Because especially cookies denotes meaning to the fact that it's cookies. The question should have said, if supply for product B goes down, then what happens? The fact that she was tying it to real world things is counterintuitive.
Well, did you get the answer back? Like, you know what her, at least for her, what the answer was? No,
because as much as I hate those questions, a lot of the times on tests, like in the very beginning in the instructions or something, it'll say select the best answer for any question. So obviously there you have to go with what you were taught. But I would fucking argue if you had a good enough idea of the market and psychology of people in relation to cookies, you might be able to make a convincing argument that the answer that she intended is not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Fuck
that.
I think
I think like it's what like teachers tell you not to do is to overthink the fucking question.
Yeah,
Which I do
don't
that all
make
the time.
questions that you can overthink.
That's true, though. That's
fucking
true.
Stupid. It's
yeah,
fucking
but is it
stupid.
really
Just use
overthinking?
variables.
Like you're putting your own thought into it. I feel like at a
No,
certain
'cause she
point.
put
no,
cookies
because
out
for the
there.
test, in which case it becomes a true question. Because like if she literally just intended it to be switchable, where it could be just
Then it should
product
It
have
could have
been
been
a variable.
either or.
It
These
should have
things, like,
been.
it's like a 49-51 type thing. Like either of them are right, but
Well, I mean,
Like
technically,
it could be.
there's only one that's right because obviously it's a
yeah,
test.
you're supposed to
Yeah.
pick it. But
And
it's
obviously,
I understand why people. They probably write on there. I understand why people pick this
Yeah.
question or this answer, but it's this one because
Yeah.
blank.
She could have even put in the question, she could have preceded it with like, given our fundamental understandings of economics, blah, 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 blah. And then the question would have been fucking fine. But the fact that she was expecting us
To
fucking
come to some conclusion
to
yourself.
come to a conclusion about the economics of cookies in America
Yeah. Well, I mean,
is
it's
huge.
it's probably I'm sure it was
What
like a
did you put
basic
that on your
economy
test?
class.
I don't remember. I answered whatever I thought was like, the
Wait, what
book
was
answer
this? What was this?
a few weeks ago.
So you haven't gotten the test back? I'm just curious because like, what is the answer for her?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm
Just
it's-
like was she trying to make
there's-
you overthink, or was
no,
it just like a
no,
simple...
she wasn't. She meant it to be something interchangeable.
Okay.
That's all.
Then yeah.
That's all it was.
Well, I'm trying
there
to
was a
think-
couple different ones like that too. There was like a, I can't remember. There was one for like computers, I think, and it was like a somewhat similar question that had to do with like demand and supply and like what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, bitch, you don't know what the fuck would happen if suddenly like demand for computers increased 1,000-fold. Fucking maybe we would just fucking go to computer cafes more. Maybe just those would get opened, because if computers go down, maybe people would just find time to go to a computer cafe instead.
Yeah.
Who the fuck knows? I don't.
I guess
Fuck you for thinking you
depends
do.
like what.
I know she doesn't actually think she knows these things.
Mhm.
I know she thinks that she's just putting a random test question out there. I'm saying that the wording for this, and this is just one example, because I come across these all the time that piss me off. You know,
I think it's just
they should be conditionalized at the very least. At least say like, given our knowledge from the book, or given information only discussed in class, or shit like
I
that.
think
Is that
it's
like
just-
a first?
I think
first
there's just an
class,
issue with
first
people
economy
who-
class you've
Yeah.
taken. So it's pretty like basic.
It's fucking mega basic.
Yeah. So
That-
I'm
oh,
guessing it's
that
just
lady.
like how attuned are you to like this economics class, or are you just like. You
I
know,
think
Well, no, I mean, all it's just a basic fucking question.
I think it's
it's
just-
if a product, if like the quantity increases, because it's something we talked about, because there's a direct, generally accepted relationship between these things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
it's
It
fine.
wasn't meant to be like, hey, run this simulation. It's meant to be like, hey, so we discussed in class that if the quantity goes up and demand goes up, like price will generally stay about the same if it's relatively the same.
Mhm.
But if price goes up and quantity goes, or if demand goes up and quantity goes down, price will generally go up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was just one of those fucking questions.
Right.
But then
Yeah.
she brought cookies into the equation and fucked the whole thing up.
I think it's just the difference between like I'm assuming she's not the one to overthink a question like that.
Definitely
And then
not.
you're just one of those people that just have. I
Well,
do that
it's,
too.
it's not
though.
even that, because I totally understand what she was trying to say. I'm
Right.
saying that it was worded shitty. It was
Okay.
a shitty test because of that.
I
I don't
have to
think
look
I
at
did
this
worse
again.
because of it.
What?
I thought maybe it took me an extra minute because now suddenly I was thinking about these things because I thought it was interesting. But I think it was a shitty test question. Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I think.
fuck
I think-
you. What if
think
I
it's-
got someone who was in the cookie business who ran these fucking simulations and come to a different conclusion for some reason? What if
Yeah, I
it's
get
like
you.
something that doesn't apply to the general accepted, rules that we talked about in
Yeah.
class?
Yeah, but I think it's just going off of the rules
Of
there.
course
and
it
they're just,
is.
They're just throwing in that rent. That
Yeah, of
mention
course
there.
it is.
And
Absolutely.
it's like, oh yeah, we
I know
usually
that.
say just X, but if we're putting cookies in there, is that going to throw you off, or are you just going to say, what we taught you in class?
Well, I
So I
think
think
that's something that's, that's not something that you test in an economics class. I think that's something you test in fucking high school,
Yeah.
like years and years before,
Yeah.
I think that, I think dumber people would immediately just assume. Smarter people are going to go, wait, I don't know. What other variables are at play here with cookies?
And that's the
You
thing,
know what I
man.
mean?
It's just like that's what. It's just for dumb people. You're too intelligent. You have to
No,
stop
that's
now
not what I'm
before you-
saying. That's
No,
not
I
what
know
I'm
you
saying.
mean. I know what you mean, though.
For sure. I don't know. I just think
I was
that
just playing with you.
questions like that, I get their point, and I get that I'm kind of like arguing semantics against it, but I still think that they're worded shittily. Like
Yeah.
an economics test is supposed to test you on economics, not whether or not you can be tricked by a question. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It should know your
yeah.
knowledge of the situation.
Yeah, I understand. So yeah,
That's
but
all.
I think it's going based off of what you've already been taught.
Yeah,
But only,
absolutely.
that you've only been taught what.
Yeah,
they've given
I
you.
think everyone
Yeah.
knows that. Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
since you have probably a little bit more than other people, you're like, oh my god.
I
Does that
don't even
do-
think it's that. I think like if you take the question literally, it's an absurd question.
Yeah.
But if you take it in the context, you know, it makes sense. You know what I mean? But I think as far as the test goes, you should be able to take every question literally. It should be worded in a way where there's no, you know, I don't know. And maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe that wasted time is for nothing because people understand what the fuck she meant. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Maybe that would
you're
just
just
be
the
wasted
oddball
time.
out and you didn't understand what was going on.
I might be. I just
I do that too,
probably.
Matt. I know what you mean.
I don't know.
I got you.
I would argue that while I would like that to not exist, I would argue that, yeah, the time spent for teachers to go through and make sure every question could stand alone outside the class as an effective question and expect the same answer, you know,
Mhm.
I think that like that wasted time would not be worth the one guy in class who's like, well, actually,
Well, I mean, yeah,
But-
it's supposed to be for you to put out your own thoughts, you know.
yeah, I don't know, because like if you asked that same question but it wasn't multiple choice in like the highest level economics class, they'd get a totally fucking different answer. You know what I mean?
Just stay on that.
That's all I'm saying.
What?
Nothing.
Should we stay on that?
You should just be an economics major and talk about
Cookies. Talk about cookies forever.
Yeah, I should do my thesis on
cookies.
your undergraduate.
At the end.
whether or not if you actually in response to my first exam of economics,
I'm writing a 2,000-page essay on one question in my first economics class, and why my teacher was stupid.
I think that's how
Dad
it works.
teacher is stupid. She'll pull up a PowerPoint and she'll put on the first slide. She'll stand in front of everyone, not change the slide, and just talk. And she won't even go into like full screen mode. She'll just open the PowerPoint, and you can see there's more fucking slides. You can see there's a shit ton of more slides, and you can see like the bar to drag it down is big, so there's a lot of fucking slides in that presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll just talk, and she'll talk about the same thing, all class period.
Oh, so she won't she won't change the slide?
No, she won't change
It's
the
just
slide.
like the title?
We're lucky if she changes the slide like twice. She'll just fucking talk. And she'll just repeat herself a
Should
lot.
listen super intently. She talked about cookies a lot.
Dude, you would think.
Well,
you would
she-
think. No, I'm just kidding.
I got you.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any interesting questions?
What do you guys
Yeah,
think
like to
about something that you mentioned earlier was like about capitalism and Karl Marx criticism on
Oh, in
On
the group chat? Or-
yeah.
Sure.
You said that something about capitalism.
Oh, the
Um,
bourgeoisie will sell us the rope we will hang them with?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, it's a free market. It's supposed to be a free market. That's the point of capitalism. Well, I'm like, you can apply that to anything.
No, like literally, it's like communism, like the revolution supposedly, because I'm not an expert in it, but essentially, it's not going to start with pure communism. It's going to start off capitalism. Like if you look at how they theorize, basically capitalism is supposed to be where it's at in the scheme of things. Like it starts off, with primitive humans, then feudalism, capitalism, then socialism, communism. It's not like it just was. It's not like they were wronged in a sense. Like I don't. I'm not an expert at.
Do you think that capitalism came after that?
Because
Because I mean, if you look at it like if you were talking about like a smaller, like think about smaller scale, pretty much everybody gets the same reward. Like say you take a little village, they're all putting in to make sure that the village works. they have their own special professions, but they're putting in
Right.
as much work as they want, but they're still getting the same, which is
Right.
probably like food or something,
Right.
or safety.
Oh, I don't know if it'll work. I mean,
No, I was just
obviously,
saying,
like,
do you
we've
think
seen
that
how
communism came
it-
first, and
Uh-huh.
then it's capitalism, and people who can produce more get more reward, or
I don't
is
know.
communism supposed to come after?
In what respect? Because like if you go back far enough, we were hunter and gatherer tribes that ran on kind of basically
Similar,
communism.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
back then, it was just
Yeah, no, we didn't
if
have
you
bartering
live in like a
before.
little
oh, they're like
communities,
bigger populations bring in
Yeah.
capitalism.
yeah,
or
or
at least
it's like
trade,
the bigger
in a
you
sense.
get, it just has to be capitalism because
Probably. I mean, I don't
I
think.
mean, obviously not specifically capitalism. I feel like
But
there's
trade,
something
some
beyond
sort of
that, or
bartering.
some
Yeah.
higher level.
I
that
think
we can
to
go
every
to.
person you add to the society, it takes like a notch off the the percentage of communism being viable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think so.
Like I think like once you get to like 10 million people, it's not.
yeah, because then
It
there
might
has to be
not be
different
possible.
levels of people regulating stuff and what
Yeah.
goes into the system,
Yeah,
and people
exactly.
like somebody who's running everything, like the president or what leader have you.
The premier.
They have a lot more responsibilities, so don't you
Yeah.
think that they should be rewarded in a little bit more in some type of way, or else they would just have like no drive to
Yeah.
keep doing it.
Do you guys think that like a world democracy would work? Like if we had no countries and it was just a big old democracy, do you think that would work?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but
Just because like
Yes.
people would be meddling in other people's affairs, even though there's no countries, they still have that connection with their
well, see,
land.
like there you go. You're saying other people. You know what I mean? You're all
There's
one
the
country.
otherizing.
Well, yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're all one big country, but I think the borders that we have allow us to have different cultures
Mhm.
instead of like the American culture just spreading out.
Well, I agree, but couldn't you
everywhere.
argue that there's subcultures in America? And at that point, should we be separated?
Yeah, that there are subcultures in America, but there's a base value that we all hold dear and adhere to.
Yeah, but I'm sure pretty much every country holds that like murder is wrong, for the most part.
Right.
You know, like
In most
just
cases.
general,
Some
you know,
cases.
unprovoked murder.
Yeah, but then
is wrong.
if you say we have the world democracy, what value do we base it off of? An American democracy?
Who says it has to be based off like directly any of these that already exist? Maybe it could just
Well,
be
it would.
completely
I'm
new.
sure it would.
Newly
It would be
formed?
based off of one of them because it has to come from values of people who are making it.
Okay,
and
then
you
like,
have to base it off where they came.
yeah,
from.
but then where did democracy come from in the first place?
Ancient
Couldn't.
Greece.
Yeah.
I mean, but back then it was just direct democracy, which is like the most basic.
yeah, but what
format
came
of it.
before that? They didn't base it off of anything, did they? Well, I mean, like they kind of did.
Well, they're not basing the government system off that, but the government systems that form are based off of the values of the people that are making it. That makes sense.
Sort of.
Like a general consensus in a community comes from the people who are like running it and like the values that they.
Yeah, but like
underlie.
if you go back to like China and stuff like that, like they were sectioned off and ruled not based on a value system, but based on a power system. Someone owned
Yeah, but
all
then
that land.
in that land specifically, whoever owned it, the values of that person would be superseding over everything.
Mm-hmm. What if we didn't have to do that? What if we could find a way around that? What if
Well,
you could
what
just
would
have
be the way
individual
around it?
values? I don't know.
Well, I think we're kind of somewhere along the way of individual values, like free speech,
Yeah.
which is not really adhering to any specific person's value in that sense. I mean, we're kind of going in that direction, but
Mm-hmm.
like freedom of press, expression, stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the difference between, like, because really when you break it down enough, there's utilitarianism for like a thought process, and then there's like a rules-based system where you just follow, like you believe it to be truly moral to just follow all rules set in place. You know what I mean?
Categorical imperialism. Parrotism.
I don't know.
Kant?
I don't remember.
Kantian?
So
It's been a
basically
long
just thinking
time
that you're a
since I,
good
like-
person because you're following the rules that have been set.
Well, no, it's like basing your morals off of the rules, basically. Like you don't break the rules. Like if you're breaking the rules, you're doing something immoral all the time.
Yeah, so
guaranteed.
if you're following the rules, you think you're a moral person.
Yeah.
And you're a good person.
Yeah.
Like how my mom is. She's like, if you break any rule, you're bad. Blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Mom, you can break a few rules here and there.
Yeah, but like when you break something down enough, like morally and ethically, you come down to that problem. Like, is it the solution that matters or the way to get to the solution that matters? You know, and I think that's where the break is for a lot of people.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, utilitarianism. So, I don't see another one other than that. I believe that there's a commonly accepted one other than those two, but I can't remember it right now. But the more I think about it, the more I just see those two.
I think there's like different levels to utilitarianism. Maybe that's what you think about, like hard utilitarianism, soft. I don't know if those are the right terms.
Well, I'm saying like individual like issues. Like when you break it down enough, you know, like ethical dilemmas. When you break it down enough, it comes down to like, what do you want the outcome to be, and then what is holding you back from that. And the rules-based people would say, oh, like, you know, the rules, you know, spoken or unspoken, I believe, is one of the things that they would go by. And then the utilitarian people are basically just like the full outcome, which includes like the emotions of everyone involved, like everything that happens from that outcome state of everything directly involved and indirectly involved. Like, you want to get to the outcome state that you want, and anything that gets there is the best. That's kind of why I believe in that so much, because like, if you say, oh, you just care about what happens, you don't care about like who gets hurt on the way or anything like that, and it's like, no, it's, you want the outcome that's best for the most people. You know, well, usually that's what it would end up coming down to, but
you want the outcome that's the best for most people, but I can understand why people would say you don't care about what happens along the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I guess
you kind of
getting to the outcome that's best for the most people, you have to look at the details. You know, you have
exactly.
To look at the gritty.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You have to say like, okay, well, because there's fucking like false utilitarianism that some people fucking believe, and they're like, I want money. That guy has money. I could kill him and take his money. Therefore, I'm going to take him and kill his money because I just care about the outcome. That's not how it works, because the outcome isn't just having money. The outcome is
that's not the
now
only
you've
thing
committed murder. Yeah. Now, like there's a ton of factors
going
there.
To change.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
What happens in Crime and Punishment, where the main character, he needs money, and his sister's like going to marry this really rich guy so that they all can have money. He's like, no, I gotta get money so that she doesn't have to do that. But then he kills the main person that he's trying to kill, and accidentally somebody else. Yeah. And doesn't even end up getting the money. He just becomes a completely different person at that point, right after it happens, that he just doesn't even want it anymore. Yeah. So
exactly.
It's, you know, you got to look at the details. It's obviously we want a specific outcome, but I understand the fight for utilitarianism, just because you define the outcome that you want, but you also define the details to get there.
Yeah. Know? Well, I don't. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here, is I don't see how anything can be valid other than true utilitarianism, where you're looking at the full state of the outcome. Because if you're not looking at the full state, you're not looking at the outcome, because the outcome is
everything that happens afterwards.
Everything that happens afterwards, and it's not just what happens afterwards immediately, it's what happens afterwards and the implications of that. You know what I mean?
So like when it happens a year from then, 10 years from then.
Yeah, sort of. You can think on it on like any scale like that. Like in this room, even, like you could say, I don't know, if I wanted to unplug the computer, like let's say my goal was to have the computer in an off position. If I was going to decide whether or not I was going to do that, I could just go unplug it and the computer would be in an off position. But then the stream would end and all this other shit.
I think that's just like controlling impulses and whatnot. You know?
Well, I mean, that exact example was obviously bad, but
but you're thinking about the outcome that you want. Like, oh, I want to go to the bathroom.
The argument against that would be, how sure are you of the full outcome?
Yeah,
because like in small
scales,
obviously, it's more obvious. Like if you turn it off, obviously you turn off the podcast. But let's take a lot of the wars in the Middle East. Like obviously in the early 2000s, the U.S., we said, and let's just say like that was the case, but we said that we were going to stop the terrorists from, you know, we're going to free the people, introduce democracy. That never happened, and then look how those countries are now. Not to say that those countries are terrible, you know, culturally, but like their government, their economic status, and it's just like, I think everyone would agree with the idea that we should, you know, get rid of the Taliban, introduce democracy. So, but that's not really what happened. And you could argue that, you know, conspiracy theories and whatnot, like what the U.S. really wanted to do. But, you know, let's just say ideally that's what they wanted to do.
there's a
that's
lot
not
more
what
that goes
happened.
into
So
it.
obviously,
Other than there's a lot more that goes into it besides killing these people and then introducing it. Like it's a lot of their economic and governmental systems are based off of like religious texts and whatnot and what's happened in the past. So it's kind of hard to change something that fast. I mean, obviously it becomes crashing down and gets to a really shitty state before it starts building up and getting better.
So I guess that's like the argument, at least for like large scale, full on utilitarian arguments. It's just like, how can you be so certain of it?
Well,
but obviously it's different on every case. So this is just an example, but it's not good enough for every other example.
Well, my argument to that then would be like, what is the alternative? Just going off the rules? But then that's circular logic. You're trusting the rules because they're rules. Just like trusting the Bible because it's the Bible and it says to trust it. I think utilitarianism is the logical way to do things. And if you put that above all else, you will more consistently come to the best outcomes.
Right.
Now, if you're doing it correctly, you might know that you can't come to a complete enough conclusion on the situation. But you tried. And from then, you know, you can kind of look at all the possibilities and maybe group some and maybe go for that sort of direction. Or you could even do that and then you could look at the rules, but then you could break down the rules further and look at the implications of them and see like why we should do this or why maybe we should not do this. You know, but just doing it because the rule is there and the rule exists, I believe is just blatantly wrong. Now, and if you're saying that, I'm basing it on rules, however, I believe that rule to be moral because this and this, and the outcome would be this and this because of it, I would say that is a very weak form of utilitarianism because you're really looking at the truth of it, and you're not looking of, it's a rule, so follow it. Because that's what the rules-based thinking is. It's following the rules literally because they are rules, and I think that is fucking toxic.
No, I mean, I guess that is like the devil's advocate to disregard.
No, and that's something I thought about that a lot.
But like, I guess if you don't want to, I guess someone who might argue against full-on utilitarianism. I'm just gonna go back to that. Example.
I want these. Please, like I want you to challenge me like as best as you can. Because I don't think of these things. And if I'm wrong, you know, I can only think of someone. Continue. I'm sorry.
It's just no. I'm just saying, like, for my, like, I don't want it for the viewers, where, you know, the 3 viewers that are us,
that are like, all watching ourselves,
or like just so like I guess just to make it clear, but like I guess to argue against at least full utilitarianism is that a lot of times it's just not that simple, and I guess that's sort of like, you know, like we had that conversation about Sam Harris, where it's just like science should dictate ethical decisions. And it's just like, I think, like, personally, I would say that, we should involve science, mathematics, and all that. But unfortunately, humans aren't that simple.
It's such a complicated issue.
So,
you can
to get back to, like, that example where it's just, like, a lot of those Middle Eastern countries they suffered a lot from imperialism, colonialism, so...
Yeah, but you're just expecting that democracy coming in is going to fix the problem.
That too. And it's
or
like
at least that's what
it's a concept that's entirely foreign, because, like, if you look at Islam, you know, I mean... In the golden age of Islam, they had some idea of it because obviously they translated a lot of Greek texts. But, like, especially current Islam, you don't get that. So that's obviously just that example with that. It's very specific, and, like, but I would argue that you can still, when it comes to, like, human problems, you can find similar, you know, issues. Like, if you would go to, I don't know, I'm trying to find it. I guess, like, poverty. It's like you could probably get like the full-on utilitarian question or like the answer to it, and that could work. But unfortunately, humans just aren't that simple. So you have to, you know, just try to introduce that, and then I don't know. I don't want to like divert the question or whatever, but it's just like when you're dealing with humans, it's just a little more complicated than just full-on mathematics. Or reasoning. Because
I guess it depends on what you're looking at, you know, because you have to, if you're talking about a situation that involves emotions, you know, you're talking about an overall outcome that includes people's emotions, that's really, really hard to plan out.
Oh, absolutely. I remember when I was in high school, I spent like a month trying to make a fucking mathematical formula to whether or not something was good or not, because I was like, it might be possible. So I was trying to assign like number values to like happiness and things like that, and I was like, okay, so if it impacts this many people at this happiness value, and then this happens and this happens, and I'm like, I kept coming back to like, how the fuck do you determine a happiness value? That's bonkers. That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's not possible.
And there's like some attempts at it, but like when you start to like, break it down, it doesn't make really much sense.
Yeah, I don't like, it's fucking, there
yeah.
might
It's
be a
just
way,
subjective.
but
There might
yeah,
be, yeah, it's
exactly.
purely subjective, which is
Yeah.
why you can't set like a determined value for it.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing. But I
But,
mean,
like-
you were talking about poverty earlier.
Yeah.
And we're about to like abolish poverty almost completely.
I think we're far away from that. There's a lot of poverty still
we're
on.
not. We really aren't. Like reports from the UN, it used like in 1860, it used to be 90%. I think it was like a few years ago. We're under 10% now.
For the
entire,
world,
entire
10% of
worldwide
the world
population.
Is
Right.
not.
But
Yeah,
like,
well,
with
no,
the country-
it's close to like 70 million people. That's the amount of people that are impoverished, and they wanted to get it under 10% between 2000 and 2015. They got it under 10% by 2013. So they're going to do it within the next 10 years. But then then you set a new level for what's considered the poverty is obviously the bottom line. But then whatever you get them to is the next bottom line, and it has to keep going up and then up, and then being able to.
Well, because I was going to say, like, I don't remember the stats, but I thought there was a considerable amount of people here in America that were technically impoverished.
Yeah,
Because
but
I think it might have to do with the definition, because
Yeah.
you might be saving
think
them from like homelessness, and that's
Yeah,
that's
I think-
definitely an achievement, and I think we should, as a race, be proud of that. The human race is finally getting along, but then it just like comes back to like say basic comforts.
yeah, like what is impoverished? And I think
So
I forgot what
that's
it was.
still-
I think being out of poverty is living off of like the highest value dollar,
yeah,
whatever amount of money that is.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I think poverty 100 years ago was living, or I guess if you put it today's value, it's like living off $1 a day.
yeah. That's true. It is
So
subjective
I guess
to the.
it depends now. So I think it's based off of what the highest value dollar is right now, outside of Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's some Scandinavian money,
Oh.
something like that. Something in the UK has a higher value than the
Yeah.
American dollar.
I don't know. I think it just depends what country the study comes out in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
But it's the UN, so it's like an
Euro.
amalgamation of like 192 countries.
Sure.
I know that there are a few countries that aren't in the United
Yeah,
Nations.
but the euro is like the most commonly used one, isn't it? That,
I think so.
the
'Cause
US dollar.
the euro is like the highest value, and then it's American or something.
Yeah.
I think we might be the third now. But,
I don't know.
Yeah.
but if you're basing it off like living off a few dollars a day, then
Yeah, I mean,
it's
improved.
something. It's definitely a vast improvement from what it used to be.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously there are strides to make. But whatever the definition of poverty is in terms of the United Nations, they're getting. I mean, obviously you can't get every single person out of there, but
yeah.
Maybe you could. I don't think I'd be willing to completely say that it's impossible.
yeah,
I think it's
it's
possible.
more
If we
of a
kill them
worry,
off,
though.
they don't exist.
Because I
It's
don't think we have
extremely
the-
difficult to get every single person, But you're getting.
Because like our
Yeah.
total world population right now, like the
I think it's-
estimates for it, they're just estimates because we can't
Yeah.
literally count every single human
Yeah, but-
being everywhere on the planet Earth. So
yeah.
I mean,
We can get really close.
yeah,
We can get really close.
we could probably get really close, but what if like that one last human being that we never counted is just he's living off the land?
Well, okay,
Before
I would
shit.
call that an exception.
Yeah,
would
so I
throw
think it's
that
like
out.
after a certain point, it's like okay, well, no, poverty is like
Yeah,
really
then
no longer.
Oh,
we
okay.
can safely say like everyone, like
I think it
So
also includes like
excluding outliers, we can get most.
it's like saying
Yeah,
like
we
can't-
everyone has two eyes. You know what I mean? Some people don't, but
it's still
Yeah.
a safe bet
yeah.
to make. Yeah.
it's a safe thing to say based on what they're doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
not
yeah.
bad.
And
but
it's like
obviously-
it's what we're taught too. You know what I mean? Like if you go to biology class, they're gonna say, yeah, so everyone has two eyes.
Okay.
There's outliers. That's not true, but for
in the
effective
Yeah.
purposes, yeah,
It's
In the
it's like at
interquartile
80,
range.
98, 99% of people or at least almost 100% of people are born with two eyes.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are outliers. We're going to teach you that as a general thing, everybody has two eyes, or everybody has 10 fingers,
Yeah.
or 10 toes, or whatnot. Like, yeah, there are people outside of that.
yeah, exactly,
rule.
exactly.
It's just what it normally is based off statistics. So
Yeah.
We have some viewers who are pirates. They take out their eye patch.
they actually have two eyes.
So, I want to talk about
Yeah.
the democratic socialist thing we were talking about on Snapchat the other
Okay.
day. Because I'm really curious. I want to flesh this out a little bit because I want to know what you guys think.
I mean,
Because
haven't really
I
looked
barely
into
know
the
what I
economies of Scandinavian countries, but
I just think like if we were to try to do a democratic socialism thing here,
Mhm.
do you think it would work? And if so, why? And then also like I might throw something out for like a why not.
Mhm.
I hope it would work, but
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know either way
Yeah.
at all. There's a couple things that make me very reserved about it, but I'm not willing to throw it out entirely at
Mhm.
all yet. I'm not even close to that point. But I
Yeah.
think there are some very key things that should be brought up in order to get us closer there.
Mhm.
And like I said before in Snapchat, like I really think that scaling it to our size is one of the main issues.
Yeah.
What I was going to say about, your scaling to size, I think what we'd have to, or when you think about scaling it to size, it's really people at different levels. You have to take into account all the different levels that people are at, and I think at a certain, like,
With
I guess
economics?
like economically,
Okay.
or yeah, well, we'll just say economically. At a certain point, you have enough levels. Like, I mean, you could have 8 billion of people, but you'll unless we were like one world government, I'm sure we'd have to have a lot more people or levels. But generally, I think we're at a point where we're like, okay, we have one person or two people if you have like a king and a queen, whatever, what have you, and then there's people under that. So
like a pyramid.
yeah,
So like a dictatorship.
Wait, pyramid
sort of.
scheme?
Yeah, like a world pyramid scheme.
Yeah, no, but you have different
So are
levels.
you talking about like with economics or with power?
Economically.
I know those can be like, you know.
I think we're more talking like economically. That's more or less because the democratic socialist side of things in the Scandinavian countries is
It tries to flatten out at a certain point, though.
it
That's like the whole
flattens
point.
out opportunity. It tried as much as it could to give every single person the same opportunity as everybody else, but there's still a wage gap between like men and women. But there's a lot of different things that go into that. There's like 20 different variables that go into that, and then when you look at all of them, the wage gap has basically just disappeared. Obviously, there are certain instances with people who are sexist or racist and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but at a certain percentage, it's just women have different interests, women have different personalities, women do different jobs. You're
Different
taking
hours.
different hours. There are
Relatively
different
consistently, but
levels.
not all the time.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there for our zero viewers.
Yeah.
Our feminist viewers.
No, yeah, for sure.
Like I think like it's important to note that like you accept that there are exceptions to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like generally, I believe.
Yeah,
that
if you're
that's
just
the
looking at
consensus.
statistically, women have different interests. They're built differently than men. I think it's like a 60-40. Men are interested more in things, and women are more interested in
People, right?
People,
Yeah.
generally speaking. Obviously, this isn't like all women are like this or all
Yeah,
men are like that.
yeah.
But-
6 out of 10 women,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah, but it's just women. It's not to say that women are like. There's no way that they're forced into lower paying jobs. It's just that they pick lower paying jobs. Like, if they flatten out equality of opportunity as much as they could, and pretty much as it is here now, I think it's like a 20 to 5 or something, 20 to something like that. 20 to 1, 18 to 1, like male to women engineers, and then it's like about the same thing, like women nurses to male nurses, like it's
what about
just,
teachers? How come guys
I
can't
mean,
be teachers?
we haven't really looked into that.
I think
but
more
it's like,
women are teachers.
yeah, I'm
A
sure.
fucking
it's-
shit ton more women.
Yeah, it's just like because they're more interested in people. It's just
But I think it sort of levels out as the grade gets higher, doesn't it? Maybe not entirely, but like
I don't know.
obviously, like there are.
You're
way
just saying
more
like the
kindergarten-
gradient goes up more, higher.
Huh?
Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, I just meant like the percent, like because I'm pretty sure there are way more female kindergarten teachers than male. But if you try to go to like high school, there might be more, and that's obviously debatable. And I don't know the statistics, but there might
Yeah.
be more male math and science teachers. But that's only because of the subject, not
in
necessarily.
maybe.
STEM there are more men generally, but that's just because more men pick it. Like,
Yeah.
even in Scandinavia where they flatten it out, it's basically just their choice
Yeah.
more or less. I mean, I don't see how far off we are from that here, but for them, it's...
I want to bring up something that I thought about. I never came to a real conclusion, but I think I know the answer. So that, what was it? It was like 4.5%, almost 5% of a difference, right?
Oh.
For what?
For like the general women's wage gap, whatever.
Whatever
it actually is.
For
I
like
don't know.
Scandinavian countries, I think
Well,
it's
I mean, just
9%.
in general, 9%. What about here in America? Do you
Here, I
remember?
think it's like a 12%.
Yeah,
12%. Do you think
Not as big
that?
as this.
21, I think it is, because they say they make 79 cents on the dollar that men make.
Do you think that if, let's just say we completely threw out the statistics of men and women being different at all, do you think that if you took any two identical groups and split them like that, do you think that we could still reasonably see a 12% difference in something like that? Like, do you think that this could just be a statistical, like,
Anomaly.
probability that something like this might happen? Like,
Absolutely.
who says it has anything to do with, I mean, okay.
With gender or sex.
Yeah,
Or, like,
that's
government,
all I'm saying.
Any
Like, I
institution
totally,
forcing...
there's definitely sexism in places there shouldn't be.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I don't know to
we
what
can
extent.
we can always be more equal in terms of opportunity. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, until we get to, like,
I don't
There's
know.
a certain
holy
point where
grail.
it's like, okay, now you're forcing people into here. Like
Yeah.
colleges do that.
Well, yeah, and,
I would
like,
have
and
to
that too, because
look
I
at the-
think, like, we shouldn't be hiring people just for diversity. I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
and unless, like, the job is kind of specific for diversity, like, we need a diverse group of people to think through this problem. We need different perspectives.
Yeah, so like cultural jobs, stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
marketing,
there might be
marketing,
some,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
there
Just
might be,
about
like,
marketing.
different.
They're just like there's a need
Yeah.
to have a diverse group of people
Yeah.
to get like a wide idea of things. But other
Yeah.
than that, I
There's
guess
not a lot of jobs like that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying, like,
but there are-
outside of that, we should
There's a
just
funny.
not look at that at all. We
I
should
would say
just
funny fact, but there's like a thing where apparently like you could also apply that to actors because apparently multicultural films, like films that just have different people from different races and sexes,
They do
they make
better.
more money.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you want to make money in a film, that's probably another thing. to
Yeah,
do
you have
too.
some more
Yeah.
people, but you know,
Just a factoid.
you also have to look at the distribution of population. Like we're way over represented in white people in America than black people or any other population. We're like a 50-60%, or even above that, male or white people.
Are we?
Yeah,
Yeah, we absolutely
yeah.
are.
Really?
It really
We're
is still
like-
like a
like
white
at
majority.
12
It's changing, but
Black
it's still
people
white.
make up, I think, 13% of the population.
Black people entirely?
Yeah.
Not just black men?
No, black man is like
That's
7.
fucking crazy.
Women are like 8%.
I want to see it. I
It's
want
a
to
little-
see the different one. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
look it up. I'm not saying I don't believe you. I just
Yeah,
want to
no,
like
it's
scan through
something
it real quick.
along
That's
those
interesting.
lines. I'm not entirely certain what it was, but
Yeah,
for black,
I've seen those
black
stats.
people, I think
Are
it was
we talking
male
about America?
7%.
Yeah, U.S.
Male 7%, female 8%. Those might be interchangeable. I don't know which one it was. Asians like
Very small.
9%.
Yeah, like less than 10%.
Native
for
American,
sure.
which is surprising, makes up like 1 to 3% of the population.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because like we're in Vegas, so there's a bit of a
Yeah, and I think Hispanics
Conquer.
are.
a decent.
I'm not sure.
I think they're more than blacks, no?
That's what I want to say, but I'm not
sure,
entirely
yeah.
certain. Yeah.
I just know that they're eventually gonna. It's eventually gonna come.
Yeah,
into, like, a
eventually
majority
at some
minority.
point that white people are going to be a minority in this
Yeah.
country.
2050, 2060.
Yeah, something like that, and then Spanish is going to be the first language. I think something like that. It's just I think that's based off of like what people speak it.
Yeah.
So it'll just be,
Damn.
or it'll get to the point where like it'll be English and Spanish everywhere you go. You know?
So-
like in Canada, it's like French and English everywhere
Right.
you go. They have that.
Quebec.
Yeah.
Real quick. So, in 2015, the amount of people that identified with one race was 97%, and the amount of people that identified as white was 73.6%,
Mm-hmm.
and then 12.6% was black or African American, and then Asian is about 5%, and other races is about 5%.
That's crazy.
That is fucking
Yeah, so
crazy.
something like that.
The next census, well, it'll probably be more accurate.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Just 'cause-
I mean, obviously, every next one that come up is going to be more accurate than the last one.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying because like obviously that's 2015, so
Yeah.
that study was probably smaller than
I don't know when does the census come out?
Every 10 years, so it'll be 2020.
Yeah. So yeah, it's obviously white people are overrepresented almost everything, just because there's
Just more of them.
like 3/4 of the population is white.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in schools, in certain businesses, they force that. Like, you have to be diverse.
Yeah.
Like they have a quota of diversity.
Shouldn't it just match the diversity of the country? Because how else are we going to do that?
If you didn't have any forcing it, I'm pretty sure it would come out to that. If you had an equal opportunity,
it'd probably come kind of close.
Yeah, it would be more or less exactly that. I mean, certain areas where
it's just I think it would skew heavily in some areas, but I agree.
Like if you go farther, I'm sure in some states they just have a higher population of whites to blacks than that. So you're going to see a lot more white people in certain places, but generally it would be about that. But some places require like a 25 in terms of race.
I mean, I guess an argument for affirmative action, I'm not like the biggest believer, but I don't fully go against it. But it's sort of like, since obviously whites do form the majority, it's not like a college application.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like, forced, diversity, because that's not diversity if you're forcing it.
Yeah, if you're forcing it, that's just discrimination against the population.
Right.
That's a lot that is overrepresented.
But at the same time, then, if you're a college and you can only accept a certain amount of applications, and then whites are the majority, then you really aren't, you're very, very unlikely then to get, minority applications. You still get any, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but if you only can accept, say, like 4,000 applications because you're a high-end school, I don't know how much they do accept, but that's a
there's a certain amount.
That's just like a hypothetical. It's just like you might still get some minority applications, but it's just like
there's going to be a lot more of the majority applications, so you might not even be able to get to that.
And then it's just like, I guess then it goes back to that sort of like, I want to say it's racist, because obviously not racist. It's just, that's just how the stats work out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, then it's just like, it does still kind of enforce, say, economic and racial, what's the word? I don't want to say setbacks or oppression, nothing that strong, but obviously those
differences?
Sort of...
Just differences?
I guess so. Because it's just like, if it's us, like if the black community is already suffering from economic differences, and they're trying to, what's the word? Like I'm forgetting words, but basically if they're trying to
just get out of that more or less.
Yeah, and like they're being, I guess, limited because there's just so many white applicants. I can kind of see why, if they're trying to help
you're just trying to force, not really force, but
to bring
help get them in there just because they have it worse off.
Yeah,
and that's where this it gets really sticky.
Yeah,
but like,
it
do
seem
they?
like racism.
Maybe that person didn't though. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
because then we're just basing it off race.
Because I know that there was one example where it was just like one applicant wasn't accepted despite the fact that he was like valedictorian and 4.0 GPA, all of that shit, and then like because they were doing that affirmative action where they had to select someone else, and it was just like a girl who. She wasn't like the smartest, but she got like a 3.5 and this and that.
And she was just
they kind of
needed to fill that margin.
Yeah, and like even though like it's good that I guess she got it, at the same time it's just like she wasn't really the best for it. As much as I hate to say it, but it's just like
And I agree.
Society would have benefited more if that one guy, even though he was white.
Other people
that's kind of why I brought
requirements
it up.
and credentials for what they were going for.
How would you guys feel about just straight up having on all schools and job applications that you could possibly do it in, like reasonably, but fairly? What if no names, no gender, and no race on all applications?
Well, see, if you think about it like that, I feel like it would. I think that it would just be, majority white people.
Whoa, you're saying whites are the superior race? Why are they getting the majority of the jobs?
They would just get the majority because they're the majority population.
Yeah, I know. I'm just fucking around.
No, I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's obviously what other people say.
I kind of see what you're saying. I honestly, I would definitely be one to kind of encourage that.
Yeah.
I think if we had no names on applications, because you don't need another name until you meet them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think if we had a way to do interviews and things like that where it was completely, you don't know if it's a male or female, you don't know if...
Group interviews? I guess in a sense that you don't know, you can't connect their name to the application. In a sense, I don't know how.
Yeah, but like
probably like
you would kind of have to
screen in between them, but there's communication. They're right.
Yeah,
there.
maybe just like digital, like just email interviews, maybe.
Mhm.
But at the same time,
I
like,
think
you have to have the argument where
Yeah.
like there's a social aspect that you need to address
Yeah.
for most jobs,
Right.
Yeah.
which I see a disconnect in. But I'm saying like, you know, theoretically, if we could do it in some way where jobs could reliably pick candidates without knowing their or have any clues of like their gender, race,
The most qualified, essentially.
Yeah.
yeah, and if
But-
we were just picking that, but that's
Yeah,
that's
so
probably
that's
not
that's where
possible.
that also gets a little bit sticky because, like, say, some companies are like they run through insurance and they have people under insurance. You know, like I'm sure, just generally male employees take up less insurance money than female employees, simply
Wait.
because they have a different anatomy. You know.
What do you mean, like because females? But don't females pay? So I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, they
But
have to take in the economic liability sense when they're choosing their employees.
Yeah,
as
but
well.
like if
But I
that
mean, it's
is
such
if
a
that's
small thing.
Yeah, that's
you know,
what I was
it's
gonna
really
say.
a small thing. Like
Yeah,
that, it
you're
shouldn't
right.
be a problem, but that's something that people do look at.
Yeah,
Absolutely, like
absolutely.
companies do. That's
But hey, I mean, what if every company then? Because then you can just say every company is now looking at a standard model. You know what every company will come out to about 50-50.
yeah,
right?
it's
Theoretically, every company would come out to about 50-50. Obviously, there's going to be outliers.
it would technically be like a 48-52, something like that, because there's more.
I think
there's more
it's-
women than men in population. It's like
right
a
now, that
49-51
said, there's more men than women.
in the United States.
Yeah, but I
I
just
think
like
if you
to-
take like a general like world population, it's like 49-51.
Yeah,
something like that.
well, you get the point.
Yeah.
Theoretically, every business could use that model when talking to insurance companies.
Mhm.
Theoretically. And then if the insurance company has any reason to believe that they might be skewed, they would then have to probably prove that. And then you can go from there.
that in that sense, for insurance companies or any company in general, they have a certain grace period where you don't have insurance before you're, or I guess after you're hired,
Yeah.
just so they can see like, oh, if you're a good employee and you bring in the money, or you're doing your job really well, they'll give you
Yeah.
insurance. I'm not saying like they should discriminate who gets insurance in their company, because obviously everybody should if you offer it.
Yeah.
I don't know, that kind of combats just people looking at it from an economic issue based on sex
Yeah.
prior to it happening, you know?
Yeah.
That'd
I
be
don't know.
interesting.
I think every argument towards having to, know these things is just pretty much blatantly invalid. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
stupid, but I hear it from a lot of people, and
Yeah.
it's invalid, but it's definitely something that you have to come up with some type of retort to, or...
and I think, I think we talked about it. I don't think that there's a valid reason, because I think the medical insurance differences, I think that the price per person is something fluid enough where the company should accept any difference, because it should be nominal, really. It should be
It's
a very
it's
little
just like a
difference.
small thing.
And if it happens to not be, like, companies already, like, they're not going to not hire you because you're a woman because they're going to pay an extra cent. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's not happening. And I think that means that we should just look at every candidate without knowing this information, unless you have to for the, the individual job. Like,
Yeah,
if you
well,
have, like, a female
that
bathroom
should be
janitor,
that should be
you-
something like after they pick the candidate, they find out that information.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, like they can know, obviously, like you're going to show up to the job eventually, and
Yeah,
they're
it should
going to know.
purely just be credentials and interview.
Yeah,
more or less.
absolutely. It should be credentials, and it should be like how they perceive like your knowledge, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's credentials, and then obviously every single job has a specific need that it needs
Yeah.
from people.
I would almost wonder if there's some way we could standardize the social skill aspect of it that they have to check. Like, that's why they do phone and physical interviews, is so they can kind of like see how you hold a conversation, because you're going to need to deal with customers and stuff, at least in retail jobs.
Yeah.
Like most jobs, you need to have some sort of social skills, because you're going to be
Yeah.
either working in teams or with clients or customers or whatever. I wonder if there's a way that we could standardize that, and then you could just show those standardized and like efficiently standardized, not like standardized testing we have in fucking schools.
Like an EQ test? Instead of IQ, it'd be like EQ.
Sort of. I've heard about that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It would probably be different. It would probably be similar.
That also
but
depends on what job you're working. Like
Yeah.
that would probably be really useful in something, say like you go to
Sales
you work at like
or
a
something.
nursing home, and you
Yeah.
do the thing would really help just because you're able to understand other people's
Yeah.
emotions.
Absolutely.
I was just
Or-
saying in that situation where it's just like if you're not gonna do in person or, you know, phone interviews, then it's just like something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe like a few different things. Maybe an EQ test and like a social ability test.
Yeah.
Because those might not
Yeah,
correlate
more than just one
consistently. Yeah,
Oh,
it might
yeah,
be more than
more.
one thing. Because I think EQ is very important.
Yeah, well,
Obviously.
EQ is just your ability to understand other people's emotion. You know?
Yeah, and that's very important for a lot of
Yeah.
these, you know, customer service
And
jobs.
then social ability is your ability to
socialize.
convey something, you know, like reciprocate more or less.
Yeah, yeah.
What's necessary.
I think both of those are pretty much the key reasons why they do those phone and in-person interviews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if there was a way that could be evaluated, maybe we could just get past that and interviews could be done completely online, and then, you know, then we have no chance of a bias.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like, people might try to get around it by like saying what race they are or hinting at it strongly, or gender or anything like that, because they might, you know, like if you're looking at an applicant and he says he was president of the fucking I don't know, Asian
American Club.
yeah, like the Asian American Club or something like that in high school, you're gonna be like, this kid's Asian.
The Key Club.
What white or other, like, what
Any other
black
race.
kid is gonna be like the,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
A biracial kid, but still.
Yeah, but
they
that's
still be Asian.
that's different. That would be a different like thing entirely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying people that identify as like one.
And like
Yeah.
it said, like 97% of people identified as just one race. So
Yeah.
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 So I don't know. I think maybe that would lead us more towards equality, but I think getting there would be fucking damn near impossible. We can't even
It's really
figure out
hard,
like
yeah.
standardized testing. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess the argument against that, because like I agree, and like if you ever seen, I don't think there were ever like comprehensive scientific studies, but I'm pretty sure you've seen like articles or whatever where like people like sent the same application, but they changed either the name
Yeah. It,
or the race, and
Yeah.
obviously that affected
Yeah, no,
the application.
there have
Yeah.
been some studies on that.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I just
fucked
like
up.
seen it
I
like,
wanna
you know,
avoid
those
that.
like website like BuzzFeed or whatever. So it's like how scientific or, you know,
Yeah,
how hard
like
are the
they would
numbers,
send the
but I'm pretty
same-
sure like other actual studies have been
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I saw
So-
something that was like the same test into like you're turning in the same test, same answers, except it's like a different name. It's a men than a women's name, and then
Yeah.
like the women's name got graded worse.
Yeah, see, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
That's
well, I mean,
so
like
fucked up.
that was like from a sociology class,
Yeah.
so I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
What
like, I
study
wanna
goes
avoid
into
shit
it, but
that.
like yeah, stuff like that obviously shouldn't happen.
I think like getting jobs, and maybe this type of application process can be applied to a bunch of shit, but I think like if you're applying to a job, they, unless they have to for the specific position for whatever reason, they should not fucking give a shit where you're from or who you are or anything like that. You know, like if you're a fucking felon, like that's different.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say,
talking
what
about
about a criminal background?
things outside of like
Mhm.
your control.
Basic information.
The way you're like born or the way you choose to be, you know, whatever. I think that should absolutely not fucking play a role whatsoever in whether or not you're hired. You shouldn't be given a job because you're a woman or because you're white or because you're black. I mean, you shouldn't be not given a job because of those things too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think the only way we get there is if we fucking take out the human component of deciding or even noticing. those things.
check out the component of being able to see
Yeah,
these types of things.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Like one thing I was thinking, like say for a like sales associate job or some type of social interaction required job.
Yeah.
Like in video games, they have those programs where they trace where your eyes are going, because that's a big thing that they're looking for is like eye contact.
Yeah, you're saying
So-
like run that while someone's looking at an application.
Yeah,
see
like
what they look
say,
at?
like say there's, you know, you have like a screen between you two, so you can't see Like
Yeah.
maybe it's a one-way screen. Like the people who are being interviewed can't be seen, but they can see the other person, and then they can.
Yeah, but they can hear.
The interviewer can see, and then maybe like have some sort of
Voice distortion
yeah,
or something.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I think even there, like your vocabulary will tell a lot. Especially in regards
really,
of race. That's
yeah.
why I'm saying it's got to be just digital, man. You got to like.
Well, I mean,
gotta
like,
be
even if it is vocabulary, like you're looking for somebody who isn't repeating words, like in a socially set job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but like if someone comes in and like they call you fucking homie or something, you can make some conclusions about who they are. They're probably like a younger person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm saying just like the way people talk, you'd be able to come to some conclusions.
Well, yeah, but I mean that comes to the person. You know, that ends up on them. That's, I don't think, something that you can really control on the other side. That can be controlled by the person.
Well, I think you can.
Interview.
And that's why I'm saying, like, instead of having to do that, if they could just somehow quantify their skills.
Well, yeah, I think you're also looking for like a sales job. You're looking for a specific vocabulary. You know, you don't want people just throwing out slang and left and right.
Yeah, but I bet you if we had those tests and we could get them consistent enough, I bet you there would be a very fucking strong correlation between higher scores there and better salesmen or women or whatever.
Maybe.
I think that makes a shit ton of sense. I mean, I'm open to, you know, other ideas there, but right, I don't see how.
We know what we're doing with the rest of our life.
And maybe, because isn't there something about like narcissists or sociopaths or something, like they're better at sales jobs or something? So maybe, I don't know, they'd probably score high on those tests actually. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, man.
You just have to worry about like your coworkers. Don't trick the punch.
I don't know, man. All right. Is that about it for today? Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know.
No, I think you.
We can be it.
We cut it off. Snipped it.
Now do we push it?
Yeah. Now be impulsive.
All right.
Get a question lined up?
No.
All right.
Connor, question?
We can just turn it off here, and then we can think about it right after. But
okay.
Yeah, that was good.
I want to see if I have one I want to talk about next time.
Do you want to throw in that one?
Which one?
the new question you formed?
Actually, I want to talk about that right now.
Okay.
Okay, what? So I have a reiteration of the glory hole question I want to talk about. Just because, like, the implications of it are interesting. So, hear me out. It's kind of like chaps are gay, but it's very different. Or, like, whether or not they are. I don't know. So here's the deal. So you're a male, a heterosexual male. Let's say for the sake of the argument, it doesn't matter if you're born or not born with the sex organs. For the sake of this argument, I'm going to refer to males as people with male genitalia and vice versa. So let's say you're a heterosexual male, straight male, and you have sex with a female, but it's actually a male with a penis, technically, but you never find out, and there's no way of you knowing that, and you truly believe that it was a woman when you had sex.
So,
is that gay?
Saying you have sex with them, or it's...
You choose to have sex with them?
It's the glory hole, because he says...
No. This is just something kind of similar but different. So you're a guy, like if it's you and you went and had sex with someone you thought was a female, and you never found out, but that person actually had a penis.
How do you not find out?
It's just anal, and like it's just
anal
all the way
okay.
down,
So let's.
I guess.
I know that you might be like hung up on that a little bit. I totally fucking get that. I'm saying for the sake of this.
Yeah, just hypothetically.
Hypothetically, if you never find out,
Could
have no idea of
work
knowing.
Though? Like in like.
Well, yeah. Then you're basically talking about the glory hole.
Yeah. I'm trying to take this like a step further.
Okay.
So, let's say like you think you do anal, and then that's it. You think it's a girl.
Like it's fully closed.
There's nothing that makes
you
you...
just pull on the pants just that much.
Let's say that this person, like there's nothing about this person that makes you think that they may have a penis. absolutely like not a single thing.
Full on trip.
Like if Sandra had a
if you did
penis. I'm just trying to like make the argument
out
make
at
more
least
sense.
sometime.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying like
I mean, post-op is. No, I'm kidding.
it is that gay.
Okay, well, first let's define gay. What do you define as gay?
Well, see, that's kind
Is
of the
it-
whole question. Is
Well, that's
sexuality
up to you, though.
is the sexuality of the event based entirely of the mind, and is it purely a subjective thing? You know what I mean? Like if, let's say that the person that looks like a female.
It's based purely off the body, not what they look like.
But okay, so hear me out. So what if the person with a penis has, or the person that looks like a woman and has a penis, what if they have schizophrenia and they firmly believe that they're a woman? They're a completely anatomical woman. You know, what if they truly believe that they're a woman having sex with a man? In that case, neither party perceived that event as a homosexual event.
Well, see, the thing here's something I'm trying to throw in there. Say there's only a disease that's spread by male to male sex, not like AIDS. Like AIDS can be spread through sex like that. But
I already see where you're getting at.
Yeah,
and that's
but I mean,
different from the answer.
yeah, but no, I'm just saying like that's why I would say.
I guess add a
it's-
stipulation where she's clean and you're not gonna get any disease from it.
Well, no, I'm just saying like
You know,
Because
Yeah.
obviously that's a lot of stipulations,
Well,
but then like it's just
yeah,
you
no,
don't
I'm just saying like
formulate that.
it wouldn't matter that you perceive them as a woman. Like you would just, it would be gay no matter what.
So they're gay.
Yeah.
But
That's like
it's
saying
a straight person though. You know, that they believe that they
You
just
make
had sex with a
mistakes.
woman. You know what I mean? Like
I'm
what?
with Connor,
How
though.
it,
It's just like
if-
it's still two
It's still
people
there,
with
yeah.
You
I
could
still think
say-
it's very
any-
based on body. You know?
it could be any straight man that you meet that firmly believes he's a straight man. This could have technically happened to, and suddenly they're gay because
No, I
of
think
No,
they
I'm
had.
not calling
gay,
them
but
gay,
not
but they
that they're
committed a
gay.
gay act.
Because the thing is that you could, and like I don't really know how it would work, but like technically you could be a guy that only has sex with guys, but since you say that you're straight, that's how sexuality works. I don't know how you.
Well,
can,
that's different because like you chose to have sex with a man. That's
Right.
different. Here, that person chose to have sex with a female. However, in objective reality, that was
No, but that's the thing is that the act was gay, but the guy is not gay because obviously he thinks it was a woman, and he still is only attracted to women.
Okay, so
the guy is straight. He just did a gay act.
okay, so that the act was still homosexual,
Yeah.
regardless of any
What
mental
they thought
states
or
or
perceived,
anything.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would say that,
Okay.
like, even though because the guy thought he was having sex with a woman, that just means that only the act was gay, and even at that moment, that
So-
guy wasn't gay at all.
So what you're saying is you can be completely straight and perform a gay act.
Technically?
You can be straight as an arrow and perform a gay act.
Mm-hmm.
Technically.
Isn't that interesting?
That is pretty interesting.
I mean, like, it's like experimenting, I guess you
That's
could say.
kind of
Or
why
in
I
this
brought it
case,
up.
it's
Because
not-
the more I thought about it, like I kind of came to that conclusion. I also came to the conclusion that maybe sexuality is just purely of the mind.
yeah, that's what people
But
argue.
you know, like if you look at like the textbook definitions and everything,
Yeah.
technically
I mean, I
it
don't
was
think
male to
it's-
male sex. But,
I really don't think that it's purely like a social thing. You know, I think there are
well, I don't think social.
like-
I mean like mental. Like
like
I think
what you decide in your head. Like
yeah.
I think it's
Like if-
I think it's not. I wouldn't say it's solely that. I think it's also a biological tell, because like men have the drive to reproduce, and they have to have sex with a woman to reproduce,
Mm-hmm.
to actually procreate.
Yeah, but see that's just it. This is a purely recreational
No,
sexual
it's-
act because it's anal.
No,
There's
in that case though, because like because the guy in that case was turned on by the fact that he was a woman. So you could argue that guy was still straight because he thought he was having sex with a woman. Even
Yeah,
like
exactly.
even
Yeah,
though
but then
it was
you're-
obviously
then you're thinking
anal,
of, like,
the
this-
the inner biological reason for that was to reproduce. You know, like obviously he was
Well-
only having sex because anal sex because obviously you're not going to get pregnant off that. But like the main driver was still for that biological cause to reproduce. So in a sense, like it's still, if anything, that actually kind of proves that he's straight because it's like
because he had sex with something he believed was a woman.
right.
Yeah.
So
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying a perfectly straight man can do a homosexual act, that's fucking interesting. Because, like, that's typically how we define these things. A straight man is someone who would never perform a homosexual act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this case,
But he did.
Who would never
Perform
No,
a subjectively
Yeah.
or
Or I was gonna
homosexual
say
act.
like knowingly.
Yeah, you know, he would never, you know,
Like if
he would never
everything-
choose to
if
do it.
his entire mind was, if his entire mind believed that it was a woman, but ended up being a man, find out afterwards.
Mhm.
You know.
But then, like, that's why I asked, like, is he gay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I firmly believe that person in that situation would be straight.
Yeah,
I think
he-
they
he
both
just
should be
committed
straight.
a gay act, and he just thought
Yeah.
that it was the exact same thing as having sex with a woman because he
Yeah.
thought it was a woman. And
I do think, though, for the person who looked like a woman, I think, like, if you disregard the schizophrenia option to where they know that they have a penis, I think, like, if we kind of look a little bit before we get to the point of them deciding what gender they are, you know what I mean? Or, you know, however that works biologically, if it's a biological thing, which I think that's what they came to. I don't know,
What?
regardless
that
of,
gender
like,
was biological.
partially, I thought. Isn't that what
That's
they came
been
to?
the consensus for a long time, but
Well,
recently it's
I
come
mean,
up
like
that
gender, not
is
sex.
it's not biological. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what they came to. But the point is, I'm saying, like, before that, just talking about the physical body, like, let's say, like, a person with a penis is a male, like, they would be aware of that, therefore they would be committing a homosexual act. So, if we continue from that, we get to a point where someone can have sex, and one party believes it to be heterosexual, and the other party believes it to be truly homosexual. Which is fucking interesting, too.
Mm-hmm.
How can two people have sex and have completely different sexual preferences?
Well, I mean, I guess that goes back for a while. Like,
Obviously, like,
if you look at-
bisexualism, like, kind of messes with that whole last statement.
yeah, well,
You know.
absolutely. I think let's see that's hard too. Like, say, if you look at like Spartans and stuff, when they would go out to war, it was only men, but they would commit homosexual acts on each other, which was probably just to satisfy their sexual needs, you know, so they wouldn't go like fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you're not going to go crazy if you don't have sex.
They
but
probably
it,
had
it-
so much fucking testosterone going through their
yeah,
goddamn
no,
bodies.
it definitely really
Jesus
helps your
Christ.
like hormonal balance if you're getting, you know,
Getting your nut.
getting your
Yeah.
nut, you know, getting that satisfaction.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting question. I talked to Ben about this earlier. I thought about this last night when I was on Discord
And he was
with
like,
Miles.
now that I know what we're talking about.
What I kind of posed to Ben was that, like, you know, it could just be entirely subjective. It could just be completely of the mind as to whether or not something is like the sexuality of an act. But I totally get that, like, if you, this is kind of something me and Niram were talking about earlier, like, if you look at it from a third person perspective and you look at it, then you can objectively say that, okay, that's a homosexual act. But if there's no observer, then, like I was saying to him, like, just the art of us thinking about this might be one of those quantum position things where, you know, once there is a third observer, kind of like the thing before I said, where, like, you can believe something to be true and you're always going to be an anti-expert. Everyone involved, everyone who could know that or know of it, you know, there's nothing else to go off of. Like, there's no other observers.
Yeah.
So maybe us just talking about it makes it homosexual.
Dude, Schrodinger's sex.
Schrodinger's trap. I like Schrodinger's trap. I think that's funny.
Sure, though. I just like the alliteration, but yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I don't know.
only till, like, you open the door.
I don't know. I just think it's interesting implications of that.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, there's like barely any implications. I just think it's fucking interesting. That's
Yeah,
something
it
we
questions
talk about.
sexuality a bit, at least.
A little bit, you know, because it's
At least
like,
it brings to mind what someone thinks about sexuality.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pretty firm believer that, like, you know, like, in that situation, the person's fucking straight. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a dude
No, I
who
would
fucked a
agree with
chick.
you.
Mm-hmm.
The
From his
act, though.
perspective.
I would just say the act was gay just because, like, penis on penis. Well, not penis on penis, obviously, but
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And
I
then-
guess, like, if you were, like, say you're trying to define that person that thought it was a woman, and then they say he finds out afterwards, and he's like, oh, I could have sex with a guy, and then you'd have to take it a step further and be like, okay,
Maybe.
knowingly go have sex with a man.
Yeah,
and
then
see if you
then you
are
get
attracted
to
to them. And then
yeah,
it's like,
then
okay,
you get
well,
to
if you're not,
homosexual.
then you're not.
Yeah.
You're not
But I would say in the case, like,
That's-
just for describing the guy himself, he's still straight.
Yeah,
He's still
and that's kind of why I added that stipulation. Like, you can never find out. And he
Yeah.
didn't voluntarily choose to have sex with a man. He voluntarily chose to have sex with a
Someone
woman.
what
from
he
his
knew. What he
perspective.
knew was a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the whole, like, perspective thing, like,
Yeah.
subjectivism of the situation that I thought was interesting. And maybe it was just inherent, and it was a fucking pointless question. I literally just said that someone who thought that they had straight sex thought that they had straight sex. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
It starts the conversation.
I thought, like,
sure.
extrapolating it a little bit more was kind of interesting because, you know, what that ended up meaning for that
Yeah.
situation.
No, I got you. Should we
But,
get to the question?
and there might be, like, that was the question. Yeah.
I got you.
I got you.
Okay. Question for next time, though.
I guess I have one, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about it, but, like,
I'd
I was
be
literally
down.
just
Right
talking
down.
to someone, like, on Twitter.
Yeah, so,
But basically, it's going to involve a bit about, like, with current events. So I'll just explain, like, the setting, and then I'll get to the question. But essentially, I think one of Donald Trump's sons, Donald Jr., he's getting a divorce with his wife. And a lot of people are, like, happy about it. But then, like, a lot of people that are criticizing those people that are happy about it, those are the same people that are willing to deport and destroy a family. So I guess it's just, like, is there any irony in that? In that the people who are criticizing, I guess you can generalize that most of those people are the left. That the people who are criticizing the left about a family issue, are they being, you know, what's the term?
hypocritical?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that, or is that maybe just an isolated event in a thing?
For sure. We could talk about that next time. I could talk about it right now, but I think
I mean,
we
you
need
can
to-
say
we need
that.
to save something for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can say your opinion, then maybe if you think about it later.
Now,
I think I'll wait. I'll think about
we'll just
it.
go into
Alright.
it fresh next time. What else do we got?
I guess we'll just make next time a little political, and I'll have my question be: is having the president, is having a single president an antiquated thing? Should we have like a small group of people instead of a single president?
Okay.
I think it might be interesting because then you kind of get into like, do we elect them all separately or like as groups?
Right.
But I mean, I guess if you did it as groups, it would kind of be the same as having like a cabinet. So.
Yeah. All right.
But well, that'd be interesting too. Like, what if like when you signed up to, you know, try to run for president, if you had to release your cabinet?
I was going to say my question was going to be like, or I guess a topic we could discuss is like a more, what type of political system would we create?
What do you mean? Like would we create?
Yeah, just like a topic.
Oh
we
yeah,
could
for sure.
discuss and-
That'd be interesting.
Like a personal thing? Like just like
yeah,
ideally
we
what
could
we
just go
were.
off of.
I want to put
What
a
we
disclaimer on
know.
that right now. We're going to be fucking wrong.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
obviously.
based off of what we know right now. What,
Yeah,
what
no,
would we
absolutely.
consider?
I agree. I think it'd be very interesting. But like,
Young.
I know we're going to say something like that's just not true at some point.
Young
Yeah.
20-somethings talking about shit they don't know. It's
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. Exactly.
That's what I think all young 20-somethings are doing, basically. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least we're trying to look at a lot of like we're trying to look at the facts and shit. A lot of people are just looking at like
Eyes were too
antecedent.
far away from her nose.
What?
Her eyes were too far away.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, look, it's a fucking control.
It's a PS4 controller. Good job, JFK.
But that is, I didn't see that at all. So it might not even be a real photo.
Well,
Like
it's
aside
not a
from the
real photo.
PlayStation 4. Like
No,
you might be
I-
holding
I'm pretty,
something
I'm
else.
pretty sure her face is like that. I think her face is like that.
Oh, no wonder you
I just
cheated.
always point that out. whenever,
Oh.
like, eyes were way too close. There's this one guy. I was working at or I was at my job the other day. This guy was at a convention. It's a pretty big guy. I walked by him, and his eyes were like right here.
So what was your question? Best government or best
We would just like go through and create our own political system, or whatever.
political system? Okay. Does that include a government, or is that just like
I guess it would
if we
be a
could change the
government.
parties and
Yeah,
a
like,
full
what-
government? Or like if we were just changing like the executive branch and the parties.
We'll just say government, and then we'll decide what we feel like when we get there.
I think trying to tackle the whole government would be pretty hard.
Yeah, we're not going to go like detail-wise, but in overall.
For sure. All right, sweet. Well, we have questions for next time. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about today?
I gotta take shit.
Okay.
You gotta take shit?
No, but give me a minute.
Almost there.
That's enough podcast
All right,
for
let's
today.
get out of here.
Thank you, no one.
Bye.
We'll see you next Friday.
Thursday.
Maybe Thursday, maybe Saturday. We don't know yet.